I wonder what the former Energy Secretary of the United States thinks of all of that. Rick Perry, kind enough to join us right now. Governor, Secretary, this seems a little weird. It's one thing not to like fossil fuels, I guess. It's another to just prevent you getting access to them just with a traditional gas station or limit the availability of them. What do you make of this?
Just when you didn't thought that California couldn't get any weirder, they do. You know, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, it goes to that whole, it's cool to be woke. I tell folks, I said, you know, everybody wants to be hip. They want to be on the edge of the newest kind of coolest thing that the kid down the street's doing, and this woke movement is it. And that's a cool thing until it's not. And when you are a lower to middle class American and you're hearing this kind of talk about, well, you know, you're going to go buy an electric vehicle that costs $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. That's just not reality. Now, on the other hand, some of us who live outside of California, who are believers in the 10th Amendment and, you know, things that aren't clearly stated in the Constitution or left for the states or for the people to decide, you know, that's California. And if they want to go there, that's their business. There's plenty of other states that you can pick up, move away from, and not have to live in that crazy woke California.
You know, switching to the president in Saudi Arabia, he seemed to indicate, Secretary, that we're close to getting a commitment. I don't want to overstate this or misrepresent his position, but close to getting some sort of action on the part of the Saudis to presumably increase oil production. But I'm just wondering if that doesn't happen and the Saudis don't do that, what do you think?
Well, I think at $100 oil, the Saudis are producing about as much as they can. They recognize that the wealth that's being created in their oil fields, and they're, I'm going to suggest to you, they're at the very close to the limits of their production, as are the other OPEC countries. You know, the sadder part about what President Biden is doing is he's empowering countries like Iran, not only getting them back into the Iran nuclear deal, but also allowing them to sell, you know, millions of barrels of oil and refreshing their coffers that they're using against the United States and our allies in that part of the world. So I think this is an optical thing for him. The Saudis aren't going to magically bring the price of gasoline down. And that's what this president's worried about. He is worried about what's happening in every hometown across this country where gasoline prices are through the roof, inflation's being driven, recession's just around the corner, and people are looking at his policies and going, you're at fault.
And they're not happy. A lot of people are not happy, regardless of their political persuasion, with this mess we're in now. Governor, Secretary, very good seeing you again. Rick Perry, the former Energy Secretary of the United States, former Texas governor, longest serving Texas governor, by the way.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.